Hi, guys. Denise here from the Tao Talk podcast. Earlier this week, Neil and I had our first guest on the show. Her name is Kristen G, and she joined us to talk about management and leadership roles and how they apply to town and school boards. So we had a really long conversation. It ran over. So what follows are the highlights of our chat. But before we get into that, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And now you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I've got a whole host of other things coming. Just do a search for Tao Talk Podcast or Town of Wallkill Podcast. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for the show. This evening, we have Kristen. She's a former board member for the Pine Bush School Board, and she's here to talk about leadership roles and what makes a good manager. So let's introduce Kristen. Kristen, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Can you just give us a little bit of your background?
So, aside from owning my own business prior to COVID, I went to work for Legoland here in Orange County. I was part of their
Okay.
central planning team. And in being part of the central planning team, that was 3 something years, I had access to Merlin Entertainment's training. And
Oh,
now, my what I do is I am spec sales person for a lighting rep agency, and I cover territory from Orange County all the way up the Thruway and the Northway to the border of Canada.
wow,
Nice.
that is a big region.
We just spoke a lot about on our last podcast about issues with management and oversight. But in your opinion, what makes a good leader? What makes a good leader for managing staff?
So, first and foremost, you can always measure a good manager or a good leader by your staff's morale, your employees' morale. One of the biggest issues that plagues our country is that uh, a lot of our organizations do not train their managers. So,
Yeah, I agree.
A trained manager is invaluable because they have the secret sauce to bring about positive morale within the workplace. So that hands down makes a good manager, having a manager who has the training.
I think I have a question for you. Can somebody be a good leader but not be a good manager?
Yes and no. It's complicated, right?
It's complicated.
Because
Right.
you have to understand
It's the right
difference
answer, though.
between, well, you have to understand the difference between a manager and their role and a leader and their role. Some of the main differences is like the focus of a manager are processes and systems and execution, where the focus of a leader is vision, inspiration, and direction. I
How does this all relate to your local government? How does this relate to say, a local town board or a local village board or something
well,
like that, or even a school board,
so
you know?
so for a school board, that's a little bit of a different animal. So let's take them separately, right? So for local government works just like any other organization, right? You've got a board, you've got people who are running the organization, your CEO, your CFO. They have to answer to the board. Decisions are made, right? They have employees that they're responsible to, right? But if you have turnover, what's happening? You're losing money. Who's funding these the employees' salaries? Now, Neil, who funds the employee's salary for
Taxpayers.
the town? Okay.
Yeah, it's
So if
taxpayers.
you have a turnover of 20 people,
And
the
now you're going to pay.
taxpayers are paying for poor management and poor leadership.
Well, also, not for nothing, your town board operates much differently than, say, a private company. Just as you said, right? In a private company, you have a CEO, you have a CFO, and they both report to a board. In local government, your CFO, right? Your CFO and CEO, I mean, they're the same person, are your town supervisors, right? They're your mayors, right? They're the people who, are responsible for the day-to-day operations of that business, right? So the question is what training do they have? Do they have the operational management skills to be able to effectively operate that business? Right, as it were? I mean, you're dealing with lots of employees, these are questions I think you need to ask.
Yeah, for sure. You need to have someone who has had some management um, training in the past. I think it's really important that when you go to the poll and you push the lever or you fill in the dot,
Right.
it's really important to know who it is you're voting for.
So when they
You
come
might like
knocking
what
on your
some
right. Sorry. So
you
when they come knocking on your door and you have the opportunity to actually ask them a question, what would you ask them? How
Oh,
would you ascertain those skills?
I'm ready for you.
She's got a list, man. She's got a whole.
Okay.
She is
Okay, she was
ready.
ready for this one.
And actually, these are questions that I didn't just come up with. I asked several people from different affiliations, political affiliations, what's important for them to know about the candidate that they're going to elect. So here's the list that got compiled. These are the top eight, I think, nine. Um, so number one was, what do you plan to accomplish when you're elected? That seemed to be the number one question that came up, right? Second, how do you plan to accomplish this? It's fine if they tell you, you know, I want to give everyone a 5% raise and have pizza parties every Friday. How are you going to do that? Because it's your money that they're going to be doing it with,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Um, why is it so important for you to accomplish these things? So whatever it is that they come back to you with, pizza party, right? 5% raise. Why is that important to you? Right? We all draw from experiences, and usually there's a good reason why it's important for them to have a pizza party on a Friday and give everybody a 5% raise. Maybe they want a 5% raise. Um, do you believe in term limits? So term limits on either side of the aisle has been a big topic, right?
Big topic.
Big
Yes.
topic, right? And we don't have to get into the semantics, but
Can
do
I
you
ask you a
believe in term
question on
limits?
that? Because I really, I want to ask this question because I'm not to interrupt you with this, but in New York, councilmen for townships serve 2-year terms, right? Unless there's been a referendum by the public to allow them to serve 4-year terms. But what would be an appropriate term limit for a councilman and a supervisor serving a 2-year term?
I can draw only from my school board experience because I have not sat on a board like you have. Um, Based on my experience and my experience only, I would say the first term, it's 2 years, right? Is
2 years.
your first term?
Yes.
Okay, so for the first year you're learning, right? The second year you're just starting to affect change. So I would say one term is not enough because you're not really going to see what that person can accomplish, right?
Within those 2 years. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, uh, there is a lot of training that should be done that first year, even before you are sworn, after you're sworn in. There should be all sorts of training that happens so that you feel confident about sitting in with the other council people who may have been there for a while, right? So
Right.
so
Right.
1 year, not enough. 2 years, I think that might be cutting it a little bit short because now you're starting to enact change, and sometimes that change takes more than a year or two to enact, right? When you're talking about a large town, think of it like a cruise ship. It doesn't spin on a dime. It takes
Right.
time. and it's slow and methodical, but it will turn around. You just have to be patient, right? Um, so I think 3 terms should be it. Three terms.
3 terms. Okay.
6 years.
It's an
Yep,
Okay,
interesting.
6 years. I think 6 years is plenty.
interesting.
But again, that's just my opinion, drawing on my experiences. I think beyond that, you start to run into, you become a little bit too familiar
Okay.
with the players, too familiar with the people coming to you, too familiar with the process. And rather than, being of assistance to new people who come in, you know, you open yourself up to greed, you open yourself up to ego, you open yourself up to bullying. I mean, it's,
Yes. Yep.
strong arming, because the people coming in don't know, the old adage, don't hate the player, hate the game. The new people coming in don't know the game, right?
Exactly. Yep.
They don't know how things work. They're just learning. Very easy to manipulate somebody when you've been there for a while and the new person coming in hasn't.
It's interesting that you make the comment 3 terms, 6 years. It's very interesting because in the municipal world, a lot of these townships, a lot of local townships, just like the town of Wackel, right, who recently changed it, right? The idea that you get lifetime benefits from the town after 10 years of consecutive service, and as long as you retire with the town. So as an elected official, you work your 10 years, you retire, at the end of the 10 years, you get lifetime health care. Okay. They changed it to 10 years. It was 15 years. They changed it to 10 years. So it's interesting that you would cut everybody off before that, before
Yeah,
they would get to
I
that
don't.
point where they would receive that benefit,
What is
you know?
so? I understand where this comes from. What's the benefit to the taxpayer for paying for your health care for the rest of your life if you're 30 years old sitting on the town board?
Exactly. Exactly.
Listen, I don't disagree with the argument. I'm just telling you that that's one of the benefits that they've given themselves, and there are a lot of other benefits that politicians have that the public isn't usually aware of. And that being one of them, I just find is very, very interesting.
Mm.
Especially your statement of, 6 years and they're done.
Right. So Denise, you and I sit on a board for 10 years, part-time, right? We still go about our day. We still have our jobs and a part-time job, and then is still staying at work at your normal job.
So
So you're
just so just so
double covered.
just just so
Wow.
we're all clear why that change was made. Two of the board members, right? Two of the board members will make their 10-year anniversary at the end of this year.
And this was the year that change came.
The change came last year,
Last year.
and
Okay.
so it does impact them. I only know that because I served 8 years. And and so if I had run for councilman again, that benefit would have been associated with me as well.
Is
Well,
this
interesting question then, Councilman, because you ran for supervisor. Would that
I
have
did.
started the clock over
No.
again? Okay.
But again, that was a higher risk. That was higher risk. I would have, I had no doubt I was going to get reelected as a councilman.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I was willing to sacrifice that piece, right? Because that didn't matter to me as much as, doing what was best interest of the town and running.
Right.
to your point? Okay, so you were there for 8 years, right? So pretty much how things are working. That would make you very qualified to be the CEO/CFO of the town, because you understand how it works, as opposed to someone who had no experience. Unfortunate.
Well,
But
right.
can we revisit the whole healthcare benefits for life?
Yeah.
Is this because I'm interested? I'm sure people who are watching this are
Yeah.
going to be just as interested. Is this standard procedure for most townships?
Most municipalities, not just townships, villages, cities, state, you name it. Each one has, right, their own handbook. Within the handbook, or union contracts, right? So depending on whether you're going into a union or whether you're going into a handbook, generally speaking, they both have very similar rules, as it were, or guidelines. The town of Waukil, as I said, was 15 years. It just got changed to 10 years. Many municipalities, it's 10 years. Some municipalities, it could be 20 years. Generally, what you see is anywhere from like 10 years to about 20 years of service. The real key is you have to retire with that
Right. You can't
municipality.
just quit.
So it's 10 years of, so it's 10 years of consecutive service and you retire. Okay. So if you go to this is what really keeps people in their municipality, right? Like, this is why you have very little turnover in your local government, is the fact that everybody wants to get their 10 years and retire or get as many years in, but you don't want to leave and lose that benefit.
Well, I think
You know,
you can
it's
ask
really hold you
yourself.
hostage.
I think everybody is going to have their opinion, right? But teachers have that luxury, thank goodness, right? If anybody knows a teacher, they know how much a teacher works and what they face every single day so that they can retire with benefits.
Yeah. Yeah.
I cannot imagine a board member facing what our teachers face on a daily basis
No,
Correct.
no,
Yep.
not even,
or
not even
putting
close.
the hours in.
Yeah, no, absolutely
So,
not.
I mean, who else, if you're part of a union, if you're working for the town, you're putting in your 35 to 40 hours a week, you're part of a union, and that's part of your deal. You're working full time.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
I just, I think that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
A number of municipalities have started to reduce the benefits, right? So some have already started voting not to give their boards health care, right? Some have changed the health care where boards have to pay a certain percentage of their health care. Some boards have taken away the lifetime benefit. It really depends on the politics of the local area and who makes hay of it and who doesn't make hay of it. Do they get benefits? Do school board members get
No,
any type of
they're
benefits
not paid.
whatsoever?
Nope, they're not. It's a volunteer position. A lot of people don't know that. It is a volunteer position, so you're volunteering your time. You are not ever off. So anytime someone in the community wants to reach out to you, they can.
Yeah.
And
I would
if
think
you have
so.
a dysfunctional school board, your taxpayers pay.
Can I ask you a question? So
That's why I'm here.
I was watching so I was watching somebody who served on a school board like yourself, and I want to get your opinion on this because she said something that was very profound to me. And it really got me thinking about my local school board and their role in our community. Um, they they asked the question of the person, the host. They said, "Who does a school board serve? Who's the customer of the school board?" And it was very interesting the way she phrased it. Who is the customer of the school board? And we like I came from a time when I thought the customer was a student. Okay. Like the customer is, our job is to educate,
Right.
the kids, right? And, make sure that they have the skills when they graduate to live in a world on their own, right? I mean, and to critically think. That's what I always thought a board member's responsibility was. And that's who the customer was. And she said there was a shift sometime in the 2000s where the customer became the parent. Okay. And
Right.
Yep.
all of a sudden, now with the customer being the parent, that changes, right? That flips on the head what your role is, right? So your role is no longer to educate the kids and make sure that the kids graduate and that they have critical thinking skills and they have an ability to live on their own. Now the goal is we want to give everybody a passing grade. We want to make sure that everybody graduates, and we want to make sure that we push everybody out the door. Well, that completely changes how we think about education in general. So from your standpoint as a board member, I want to know, is what she said true? Right? Is that something that we should all be concerned with? And what are your thoughts on sort of that, that comment?
I could see where she might feel that way because, again, if you know any teachers, you know what they face on a daily basis. You cannot reprimand children in a school any longer. Like, I'm a Gen Xer.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I sat on the other side of the door with the door shut while the teacher was teaching class. You cannot do that. If you send a child to the principal, vice principal, you are most likely going to get called down for a conversation and reprimanded because the parent is unhappy. So we've given a lot of power to parents, so
you agree? It sounds like you agree with her, though.
but I don't.
Almost.
But that's just it. No, what I'm saying, there's a reality that the parents have a lot of control. But I don't think that the role of someone on the school board is to the parents solely.
Yeah, but
And
I
I
mean,
would even be
have you seen a shift? That's what I'm asking. Have you seen a shift? Not what it should be. Have you seen a shift in how boards manage as it relates to that?
so yes, I have. And the reason I say that is that there's the evolution of school boards and the evolution of what it means to be a parent. The evolution, like from when we were kids to now, I didn't have a cell phone. My parents are like, be home before it gets dark.
Yeah, when the street lights come on.
We had jarts. Let's just remember, we had giant lawn darts that we threw at each other.
So yeah, Neil, for those people who might not know what a jart is,
It's a big freaking dart.
with a point on the end.
Yes.
Point.
I remember jarts.
Lawn darts. Lawn
Many,
darts.
many people ended up in the hospital as a result of jarts.
Dodge jarts.
Yes.
Dodge
Yes.
jarts. Right.
Dodge jarts.
Well,
Right.
that is, so we have almost, in my opinion, overcorrected, and now.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking the same thing.
But I think honestly, I wouldn't say parents. I would say families. So you're responsible as a school board member, and it is a balancing act. It is a major balancing act. If you have a good board president, they will help you figure out how to balance. And if you go in with an open mind and allow people who you trust them to show you the right direction and guide you, you will have a very successful board. But the more complicated answer to that is the board answers to teachers, administration, students, family, community, police, town boards. So I probably would put the parents and the administration at the top of that list.
Right.
But it's that's not an easy position, and it's not paid.
Yeah, all that, and you're not getting.
So
Okay.
let's move to our last
just get-
topic. Yeah, we have one more topic because we're running short on time.
Yeah.
So, the last topic was your husband is running for public office again. Do you want to share with us who that individual is and what he's running for?
And so my husband is Frank Dandando. Okay, so yes, he is running for supervisor.
We'll have to have your husband on, and he'll have to answer the question: what does he plan to accomplish, and how does he plan to accomplish it?
This guy is dedicated to a fault, and when he starts something, he likes to finish it.
So is it commonplace on a board to be making votes in closed sessions versus being on the
No,
platform? Okay.
your required public meetings and open meetings laws are very clear on that. You can only make a vote in a public meeting. You can only vote in a public meeting, and the meeting has to be designated. Agenda has to be posted 24 hours in advance, right? There are very strict rules as it relates to it that the town of Wacol, I'm going to tell you, plays very loosey goosey with, as it relates to their meetings policies, how they run meetings, the information the board members have. I could tell you there were plenty of times there were contracts, there were hires. I found out after I left, right? Like, so I was there 8 years. I didn't even know like the process for hiring somebody, right?
For the course of 8 years.
Very over the 8 years, we hired like hundreds of people, right? And I'm gonna tell you, it was all wrong. Like the way the town did it was completely wrong. Okay. It didn't matter who was in office, it was completely wrong. Okay. Because the first step toward hiring anybody is your board has to vote to basically make the position available to notify the public that there's an opening, that there's a position. Okay. So the board has to take a vote. Okay. And that never even happened. And I know that never happened because I actually foiled with the county. I went to the county, right? I foiled after the fact, right? Like all those hires, I foiled looking for the resolution from the town.
When you're a board, when you worked on a town board and you have to foil the board to get information.
I foiled the information from the county, okay, about the town. And I actually got the information, and I can tell you nothing was done right.
Wow.
So I have two questions for you. Going back to open meetings law, right? So Frank's opponent is going around telling people that he's going to do what Frank did while he was in office and be transparent, which is a good thing. But the misleading part of this, if I'm understanding correctly, I feel there's a bait and switch happening, is that he is saying that there will be no voting in closed session.
No such thing as closed session.
You know what? And then when you listen to that statement, that's right there is a veiled admission that this closed door voting is actually happening when it shouldn't be. Now, further to that, I recall, and this was probably when your husband was supervisor, that many of these town meetings were being Zoomed. Like you could log in and you could Zoom. That doesn't happen anymore. Like in today's day and age, it would be so much more convenient for us.
They did that on purpose. They didn't like the Zoom. They didn't like being recorded. They didn't like being on camera.
Why not?
Right. They wanted to make everything. So
the judge I think sank that ship.
Right. They really wanted everything to be private but here's what I'm going to tell you. You cannot vote in a work session. End of story. Period.
So that's then for his opponent to be telling people
you cannot
that if he gets in office, there will be no voting
in work
decisions being made
behind closed doors.
Work session or behind closed doors is misleading.
Well, first of all, it's only misleading from the standpoint that we know the opposite is true. Because we had open meetings, we had via Zoom, we had public meetings. Every meeting was a public meeting, right? So the way it has to work is if you need to vote on something, right, you have to designate the meeting as a special meeting, okay, not a work session. So if you once it's designated as a special meeting, you have to provide notice to the public of a special meeting, right? And then that way it notifies the public, we will be voting here. Okay. We will be taking a vote. Okay. That's it. I understand it's procedural, it's process, who gives a shit, but these things are important because what's happening now is all the voting is taking place, right, in a work session. Okay, which we now have a report that says work session minutes weren't being posted online, right? So if work session minutes weren't being
Wow.
posted online, and you're voting in work sessions that are behind closed doors that nobody in the public is aware of, and you're taking votes, how is the public ever supposed to be aware of what's being voted on?
We have a huge working community, right? Most of the people who live in this town don't
Working
work in the
class.
town. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
very
Commuter.
commuter oriented town. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very commuter oriented. And so that leaves very little time to attend meetings and have your voice be heard. Am I correct?
Yes.
So, one of the things that my husband, the former supervisor Dandando, has been talking about are ways to include those people in the community who are extremely busy, but get the temperature for what the community wants rather than just making a decision based on what you think the community wants. We have how many districts,
God.
and each one is different. So to try and guess, make your best guesstimate on what's best for all of the different communities is very difficult.
Yeah. 30,
So
35,000 people.
I do know that one of the things that he has been talking about is coming up with a way for people to sign up to be able to give their opinions through their cell phones, and that
Yeah, I
information would
heard
go
that. Yeah.
directly to the supervisor, so that he could share with the board the temperature. Now, this is very, very beginning stages of thought, right? But so that he could share the temperature of the community with the board, and they could be more in tune with what each community wants. Because look, when you're elected, it does not matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. You are there to serve the entire community. You may not agree with your neighbor, but you're still going to do whatever you need to do to keep your neighbor safe.
I could tell you, right, firsthand knowledge that my Ward 3 that I represented, we would really like a dog park.
Yeah. Dog
I think
park.
that's great. I think that's great. I also know for a fact.
Let Frank know that, because Frank knows that I'm pretty hot about that. I'm still pretty hot about
I
that.
So let me just expand to that. So his goal here is to reach out. Let's say get like a polling for certain
Mhm,
issues that he would later discuss. Let's say in a live Zoom meeting
mhm.
during a town board meeting.
Correct. That's correct. Thank you. Yes.
Okay,
And the reason for that is, if you're on a bus, on a train, sitting at your
that was
kids'
me.
softball game, baseball game, soccer game, whatever, you're not able to be where the discussion is happening. You can take out your phone and have your voice be heard,
Yeah, I like that.
because in this day and age, most people do not attend the meetings for various reasons. You could even be someone who is unable to leave your home,
But
right?
here's
There's
sort
so
of
many
the
reasons to include the community's opinions and take them under advisement.
Yeah, I think that's great.
can I
And
I'm gonna actually take a step back from that, okay? Because listen, I love that idea, but a lot of people don't even know when the meetings are. They don't know what's being voted on, right? It's like, the town has done a great job, right, promoting themselves as politicians on their social media, but they've provided no information, right? Why not public meeting notices, on social
On
media
social
accounts?
media.
Why not,
how about
right?
sign up for text messages? I mean,
Right. We
I
have the
don't know
Did.
text.
what I answered, but Donald Trump seems to think that I'm at his beck and call 24/7 with all the text messages that come through on
But
what he's doing or not doing. What did I answer? That my phone is blowing up with
we
political stuff.
we have a text message service, right? Why wasn't the town notified via that emergency alert system, right, of the vote, right, regarding the judges, right? Like, or that
Yep.
was even coming up for a vote, right? Like, why not say, hey, listen, we're going to hold a public hearing. Why isn't every public hearing not put out via that alert system, right? Like, you would think that these things, right, we have the system in place, we have the ability to reach people. We're it's just being completely underutilized. So like, I love the idea of getting input, but I mean, I think we got to go back a little bit further and just say, hey, listen, let's just let people know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
I think that's so important, but I also think, figuring out how to do it while respecting people's privacy,
Privacy.
because I sometimes want to throw my phone across the room with all of the ridiculous text messages that
That
come through.
come through. Yep.
If you sign up for the text message alert, you'll get the alert. If you're aware that you can sign up for the text message alert, you might sign up for the alert, and that would be up to you. If you want your voice heard, you'll sign up for the text message alert.
And
And
at the
if
very least, you can follow, the town page, follow our page,
right,
follow us. But it's just to get information out there.
And
So anyway, I want to thank everyone for being here. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. Goes a long way to getting us raised up in the algorithm. And I just want to, if to all of our new members, we gained a whole bunch of new subscribers this week, and a lot of them are in Canada. So hello, Canada. Would love to talk to a small town in Canada and just learn how you do things and how they relate. And also, I want to just thank you for all of your comments. And I'm so sorry for sovereignty. All right. Can't believe I kept mispronouncing that. Yes, I knew that. I don't know why. I think I was just nervous. When I do that, I tend to get tongue tied. But anyway, thanks again for watching. We will see you soon. Have a great night, guys. Bye, guys.
night.
right.